So in Trig 2.2, going to take a look here at example 6. And now we're going to sketch the graph of 4y equals x cubed. So we're going to solve for y by dividing by 4, and I end up getting y equals x cubed over 4. Okay, so this plugged in some points, right? Plugged in -3, -3 cubed divided by 4, -6.75. Plug in -2 cubed is 8 divided, -8 divided by 4 is -2. Plugged in a 0, got 0. Plugged in a 2, got 2. Plugged in a 3, and got 6.75. So -3, -6.75 is down here. There's 0, 0, -2, and there -2, 2, and 2, 2. There is 3.67 and -3, -6.7. Notice how these are flipped over the origin, and because they are, right, both these are negative. Both these are negative. That's how we're flipping them over the axis, and that's how we're realizing what to do with them because they flip over the origin. So connect them there with a line.
A word of warning. Some of the images you're about to see are awesome.
So, standard equations of a circle. Okay, circle with the center, HK, and the radius R. This is the standard equation. Make sure you write this down. This is the newest thing that you'll probably learn in this whole chapter on chapter 2. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And that's how you find a circle. This point right here is the center. That's HK. This point here is going to be your x and your y. And that distance there is going to be the radius. That's where we're getting all those values for. And this will help us out with a unit circle when we start talking about trig. Circle with a radius of 1 is a unit circle.
Inconceivable!
So find an equation of a circle that has a center of -2, 3 and contains the point 4, 5. So that is our xy because that's the point. So x is a 4, y is 5. This is h, so I put a -2 in there. This is k, so I put a 3 in there. So this will help me find r. So I just plugged in my values, a 4, a 5, a -2, a 3. 4 minus -2 is 6 squared. 5 minus 3 is 2 squared. So I get a 36 and a 4, which gives me 40 equals r squared. If I square root them, you can plug that in, but the formula, if you remember, says what r squared is. So since it says what r squared is, I can put a 40 in there. And to find the equation, I need to plug in my h and my k. So there's my h, there's my k, there's r squared according to the formula, right? R squared down there. K, 3. H, -2. Minus a negative is plus, so it's x plus 2 squared, y minus 3 squared equals 40. And there's your equation of the circle. So if we wanted to, we could FOIL it. FOIL the whole thing. Just so you can see what everything looks like written out. So x times x is x squared, 2 times x and 2 times x, that's 2x and 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. Y times y is y squared, -3y, -3y, and that's 9, and that's 40. That gives me 4x, that gives me -6y, 4 and 9 is 13. Minus 13, that will give me a 27. So there is my x's and my y's, and there is 27. This is just to show you how you might see it, and you might have to take an equation that looks like this and make it look like an equation of a circle.
Oh, what is it? Slow down.
You're gonna further red arrow.
Find the center and radius of a circle with this equation. Okay, so what we need to first do is put all the x's together and put all the y's together. And before we can even do that, you can probably notice that there's a number that we can take out of every single one of these. We can divide a 3 out of everything to make it easier. So I can take a 3 out of everything. Take a 3 out there, 3 out there. That's a negative 4 now. That's a 6, and that is a 3. So I took a 3 out of everything. The 3's gone. Forget about the 3 now. It's not needed to do the problem, and this is what's left. So find the center and the radius of a circle, rearranged by putting all the x's together and all the y's together. So I move this over, move the y's over. Okay. What we need to do is something that we talked about in the last chapter, and that's completing the squares. We need to complete the squares to get those parentheses like the formula looks like. Remember, like an x minus h squared, a y minus k squared, to get those parentheses, right? That's what we need to do. So to get those parentheses, I need to complete the squares. So,
Wait till they get a load of me.
taking a look, this is what I have. This and this, I have my spaces. So if you remember completing the squares, it's b over 2 squared. So it's negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So I take a 4 and I add it over here. And that means I also have to add a 4 over here. I need to complete the squares for this one, but what this tells me is what my factors are going to be. That is my factor. So this right here, this, when you complete the squares, will give me x minus 2 squared, because if you remember from completing the squares, whatever's inside the parentheses is your factor. Now we have to complete the squares with this one, so that's 6 over 2 squared, so that's 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so if I add a 9 to this side, I need to add a 9 to this side. Once again, this is the factor, so this will be y plus 3 squared. Then I take this side and add all together, 3 plus 4 plus 9, add them all together. That gives me 16, and there's my equation. So I need to find the center and the radius. The center is whatever h is, which I look at it like this. It's kind of like the opposites. What's the opposite of negative 2? Positive 2. What's the opposite of positive 3? Negative 3. So I look at the center as the opposites. Negative 2 is 2. Positive 3 is negative 3. So your center is 2, negative 3. And to find the radius, all you need to do is square root whatever that number is, and the square root is 16. Because that's r squared. So when you square root it, the square root is 4. So the radius is 4. Alright, a semicircle, very simply put, is half of a circle. That's all a semicircle is. Alright, and when we come back here, we will hopefully try to finish up with example 9 and after.